There's a line of luxury nail salons owned by this company, Minilux. We started launching like underwear interventions at their nail salons. So this is a Minilux customer is going in and spending $70 on a pedicure. That's right in our demographic. So we set up a table and we give every now and then we'll do an underwear intervention at one of their locations, and every customer gets a free pair of underwear that day, and they're delighted. They think, oh my gosh, Minilux is like, not only to get my nails done, I've had such a great experience, I've gotten a free pair of underwear, and we get butts in underwear. And we've already proven out through the economics of our business that we're winning when we get the right woman in a pair of our underwear.
Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisenthal.
Hey, welcome to another episode. I'm Brian Roisenthal, your host, and today I'm super excited to interview Lisa Mullan, the founder of Uwila Warrior. Lisa comes from, listen well, a finance and tech background with experience working at HubSpot on projects that gave her insights into how brands operate and scale. In partnership with a friend fashion, Lisa launched Uwila Warrior to create comfortable, functional underwear. Now, with a retail space in Boston and partnerships with other brands, her company has grown steadily and sustainably. Hey, Lisa, thanks for being on the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Brian. I'm a huge fan of the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm super excited to have you here and to discuss some special stuff because, we have founders and why not marketing directors, etc., of all type of backgrounds, but it's not common to have founders with experience both in finance and tech. And given the landscape of e-commerce, that everyone is talking about profitability, profit margins, looking at the P&L, cash flow, like everything. Like, what do you think about, the current, let's say, landscape of e-commerce in general in terms of, the how brands are doing typically, what they need to work on to be profitable that probably they weren't paying attention a few years ago, etc.
Yeah, no, that's it. Things have changed a lot since the growth at all cost mentality of before COVID and when there were lower interest rates and venture capital was flowing. So, I think that today it is about having profitable growth. It's about having margin flow through, and a sustainable business that can fund itself, because it's hard to get financing when rates just inched up a bit and the whole landscape changed in terms of capital availability for businesses, especially startups in the retail space. So I can speak a little bit about our experience with respect to this. So given I had 20 years background in investment management, I was a tech fund manager as well as working mainly in equities. I had a lot of knowledge about how funding works. And when we started our business years ago, we opted not to take outside capital. So this is when there was money available. But the thought process at that point was to be more in control of our destiny and to have slower growth and to build a business under our terms rather than this, just growth at whatever free money flow, just grow without any thought of profitability. So I think we've survived until today. We've lived to see another day because we were not chasing capital early on. And now that the capital markets have closed off, we still are operating similarly to how we were operating before COVID, before the capital faucet had turned off.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it must have been tough, I guess, to turn down capital, but I think, as you said, is probably one of the main reasons you're still in business and doing well, because many people, I mean, it's not bad to be funded and to take on capital. The thing is that when you rely on that instead of trying to think about how you can be profitable as a business, that's probably where all the problems start, right?
Yeah, I mean, your motivations are different. That, outside investors have different expectations and timelines.
Yeah.
And they set really high bars. If you take their money, they want to see a return, and
Yeah.
they themselves want to see it pretty quickly. And it's harder to grow slowly and harder to grow with more thoughtfully. The second piece of it is you're always on the road marketing for capital and raising capital, and you really spend less time on the business itself. So that's another detriment. But to your point, am I negative on businesses that have taken capital? Absolutely not. I mean, sometimes when you have a good idea and it's hot and you need to grow quickly, it's amazing. It can really help you scale quickly. It's just the mentality of just buying customers at negative economics wasn't sustainable.
Exactly. So you said you started a company years ago. What year are we talking about? Is it 2019, 18, or before?
We launched in the fall of October of 17. So it's been a number of years, but I was part-time on the business for many years before going full-time on it. So yes, we've been around for a while, but it was really a friends and family business for a couple of years before it started to get traction.
Okay. And could you please talk a little bit more about that phase of the business? Like, what was your full-time job about back then? And why did you think that it wasn't probably the right time to jump or to go all in on the business back then?
Yeah, great question. So to go back to my background, like almost 20 years in finance, investment management, Wall Street. And then 3 children later, I had an opportunity to go into the private sector to join HubSpot to help them through their public offering. So that was a pivotal change for me. It was an incredible experience to actually work within a business. And boy, I picked an awesome company to work for. So I learned a ton about what it takes to operate and to run a business. While at HubSpot, they give everyone an employee portal to play around with, to make sure you understand the technology. So you can create a business on the HubSpot portal and use it as an employee to learn. So I had this back end set up, and then what on a totally separate sidebar, I have one of my best friends, our co-founder at Uwila Warrior, Natalia Martorell, is in fashion. So what came together was Natalia had, and my group of my college friends were together at some weekend offshoot, just escaping our young children and lives at the time. But our underwear drawer came up and everyone was lamenting how horrible the choices were. So Natalia had the resources to actually make a great product through her connections, largely through, she was like 15, 20 years at Marc Jacobs. And so a lot of these women from Marc Jacobs came together and helped us create a great product, but Natalia had no business experience. And so I raised my hand and I said, oh my gosh, I have a HubSpot account. I can set up our marketing. I know how to attach it to a Shopify account. Just let me run the business and we'll just do this as a side hustle. So I haven't answered your question yet, but I think you have to understand where the idea and where the company started to understand it was a complete side hustle with the intent just to make a couple of fantastic unicorn underwear for women who were unsatisfied with their choices at the moment, and just to really sell this to friends and family. So we had a small factory order this great underwear. We opened it up on our Shopify site. Most of our sales were from family members and friends. And lo and behold, word started to get out and strangers started to show up buying the underwear. So it was a real slow turn, but I think we put something out there that wasn't really to solve a larger problem until we realized that a lot of other women were struggling with their choices. And this was a bigger solution. And we were on to something bigger than we'd realized originally. And that took a couple of years to settle in and to get traction on its own.
Nice. Yeah, I think most successful business ideas come from solving a problem for like probably for even for you or for your friends and family. In this case, it makes sense you started that way. And when did you decide that it was the right time to go all in? And I mean, what changed in the business or probably in you or in your career?
Yeah, a couple things happened that really sparked the fire to go all in on this. And I think it wasn't just strangers showing up to buy our product online through our e-commerce channel or website, but also about a year into launching, this random email came in from Free People saying, we'd like to set up a call. And it was like 2 sentences long. We've heard about your line. We want to set up a call to sell you wholesale. And I forwarded it to Natalia and I go, I think this is spam. And she came back to me. She goes, this is not spam. This is Free People reaching out to us about doing business together. So, here we were not marketing ourselves B2B at all. We had no paid, we had nothing. We were just this little tiny website selling great underwear. And somehow Free People had found the brand and was reaching out to us to do business. So when you have a partner like that coming to you to fill a void in their intimates portfolio, you're like, oh gosh, this is really something bigger than what we thought it was. I think the other piece to this is by starting a little later, it was a lot better to understand we had a business and we had a product that was really resonating with people, whether it be direct to consumer or wholesale, before I gave up my full-time job and benefits and whatnot and went all in. I think that was just a little too risky. It felt too risky until these other pieces started proving out and showing us that we were onto something.
Yeah. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but I have the understanding that around 2019 you opened a store in Boston. Is that correct?
Well, yes, we were running the business out of the top floor of my house, and that only can take you so far when we were 2 employees at the time. When my first employee would show up, ring the doorbell, is it okay for me to come in and work yet? That doesn't work after a while to run a business out of your house. So when we thought about, did we want to go into retail and have a bricks and mortar location? That was not our original business plan at all. But we found this spot in Beacon Hill, which is a really nice high street with shops on it. And there's this one tiny storefront with more of a backspace that was pretty sizable that we could make an office out of. So in 2019, this little perfect spot opened up for us and we grabbed it. And that's where we launched our first retail location, our only retail location, with a tiny store in front. And then our office is really run out of the back. And so it actually has been an incredibly great decision for us for a lot of reasons to have that one storefront that doubles as our office.
Back then, what percentage would you say, if you remember, of orders, what percentage of orders could you say that came from each channel, let's say Shopify, these partnerships that you have built, or B2B, let's say, or wholesale, and of course your brick and mortar store?
Well, so we got the lease in September of 19, and COVID started happening around March. So the store had about, just a handful of months there where it was really clicking before it got shut down basically for a year. So bookmark that. When you looked at the wholesale direct-to-consumer split, because Free People was so large and we were so tiny at the time, I would say our split was like 60% wholesale, 40% direct-to-consumer, just because Free People stepped in and started placing pretty sizable POs with us. If you fast forward, so over time, the direct-to-consumer business has grown as it compounds, as we get more customers in our channel. We have a great repeat customer base. So over time, I think that's flipped, where even though we've added Nordstrom drop shipment, we've added Bloomingdale's for drop shipment, We've got the Macy's Marketplace that we just launched recently. Even though our wholesale has grown, it's been eclipsed by our direct-to-consumer business, which has steadily been growing and compounding on itself.
Nice. Yeah.
By the way, today, the store is like a single-digit percentage of our revenue. It's not a lot of revenue, but it's not like that. Our business model hinges on the store. That wouldn't work. But if I could explain what does work about the store is that we see our target customer coming in and shopping and browsing and looking at our line. We actually see her try on certain items. We see what her pain points are, where our line is really working, what she's looking for that we don't have. It's been amazing feedback for us to really develop our product and our line from where it was, first of all. And secondly, it has been a customer acquisition funnel in that even though our in-store sales are low, you see people buy for the first time in store, and then they come back and they purchase online after that. Like our neighborhood is one of our top performing zip codes for our online business.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that because we have had many conversations about, the fundamentals of e-commerce. The pandemic created the illusion that only by creating the Shopify store and, I don't know, grabbing some random product can make you a successful, entrepreneur or, brand owner. And probably that's far from truth. We are not in the, let's say, money printing years, let's say, in which you put probably $1 on meta ads and you got 4, 5, 10, and you didn't require anything else. Probably even a lot of drop shipping stores got away with it, even if they didn't even know what they sold, didn't probably even saw the product in person. So in this case, what we love about is that we were making the connections between the online and the offline, and probably trying to assess the benefits of the offline and many other things. We even said that the e-commerce part of e-commerce brands make founders lazy because, again, it's what do we do to acquire customers? Let's do ads and nothing else. And it's like, well, what would a brick and mortar store do to get customers if they don't come through the door organically? Well, they could probably hand out flyers, do partnerships with local stores, host some events, do different things. And one of the things we were saying about the benefits of meeting customers offline through a store, it could be a pop-up store, it could be some founders went even to Central Park with a sign saying, ask us about our bags, and to some other locations, is that you get feedback real time, even if you don't ask for it. As you said, you see people, trying on the products. In their case, let's say they sell bags. So you can look at whether people are happy with big pockets, small pockets. If they ask you about different use case scenarios, you can interact with them in a way that you can't online. So it makes sense that even though it's not a huge sales channel for you, it's very useful to getting the sense of what they want, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think you nailed it, how you describe the values of that in-person customer touch. And we are not going to grow the number of stores we have, but we're keeping the one we have because it's been so valuable to us.
Yeah. So you switched to going back to the product, correct me if I'm wrong again. You switched to natural fabrics. Is that accurate?
Yes. Well, not natural fabrics, but we began to produce with a more sustainable process for our fabrics.
Okay.
So to look at this from a high level, if you look at our portfolio of products, 50% of it is from knitted silk, which is a natural fiber. The other 50% are made from synthetics.
Yeah.
So that's like nylon, elastane, polyester, and basically all those are plastics. They're made from plastic, really. So so the natural fiber of silk it's not as bad for the environment because if it goes in a landfill, it'll degrade in a healthy way in a couple of years, which is not going to create plastic runoff in our water streams, whatever. But clothing that's made with nylons, elastines, and polyesters are part of the problem that we're seeing. They're definitely a huge contributor to plastic runoffs and all these like plastic remnants in our planet these days, which is not good for us. So once we got up and running and you understand that you're in the business of manufacturing things, and then you see some of the not so great sides of being a manufacturer, our team was like, how can we do this better? So we really focused on the synthetic side of our portfolio to use a technology. We partnered with a company named Ciclo, and they have a nylon additive that makes the nylon act like a natural fiber in the landfill. So once it goes in the trash, it's going to act like silk. So why were we talking about our underwear in the trash? Well, that's because underwear in particular cannot be upcycled or recycled. And there's 11 million pounds that goes into the trash every year because it should only last on average like 30 wash cycles. So people are replacing this particular clothing item frequently, and it's going in the trash. It's not going to someone else once it's been worn. So once we recognized this pattern with our particular line, we made it a priority to tackle what made the most sense to us as a step to be more responsible as a producer. So to answer your question, Brian, it's not a natural fiber, but our synthetics act like a natural fiber in the world once we're done wearing it. Amazing. We're the only intimates company, the only one using this technology today.
Wow. And what feedback did you get from customers about it?
I think we did get a lot of press. We got a lot of pats on the back from customers. But did we see a big sales jump from this? No. I think the end consumer, when you're actually purchasing for yourself, you're thinking, well, I want a product that works well for me. And they continued to purchase what we had left over of our old fabric and also buying what we call our Better Briefs line, this new line. It wasn't like a huge lift in sales. But from a manufacturer standpoint, it's better that we have taken these steps because it's better for the planet. And I think some of this investment is what you can do when you're more privately held, when you can start to make decisions that are better for the planet or more ethical. You're not under the gun to spend that extra money to do this. Another incentive for us to do this is we did get a grant from Macy's for our product development once they heard we wanted to do this. And that was helpful for us to help fund this development. But today, what we're doing is we're sunsetting the old fabric. We're only keeping our Better Briefs line, and we're moving our customers over to this new line. She doesn't even know the difference between the two pairs of underwear. It's not sacrificed the quality and the comfort and the high bar of experience that we set for our products. But we know we've created these products in a much better way.
That's great. Amazing. So I wanted to ask you something. No, you mentioned a few minutes ago that that probably e-commerce started growing a lot, right? Versus, wholesale is growing as well, but DTC is growing really fast. So what were the main growth levers that contributed to that growth?
Yeah, well, we were not doing paid early on. We probably should have been, but we weren't because we were just focused on selling to our friends. But what ended up happening, big pivotal moments for our brand were not just like getting free people. We then launched drop shipment with Nordstrom's. And so our brand, we win when we get butts in underwear. I mean, we have a super high repeat customer rate of like 30 to 40% every month. And wow. We have single digit return product to us. So all of that points to like amazing customer satisfaction with our product. And key moments that triggered our growth is just getting butts in underwear. So when Nordstrom carries us drop shipment wholesale, do we make a lot of money off of that profit? No, we don't lose money, but there are thousands of Nordstrom's customers. We have a decent business with them that are discovering the brand. It's got credibility because Nordstrom carries it. And then she becomes a loyal customer to Uwila Warrior. That was a big pivotal moment for us. The other one was during COVID. This is kind of sometimes you can't make up what happens, but it was like April of 2020, a month into COVID. We're in this group called the Tory Burch Fellowship. It's been awesome. We get this SOS message through Tory Burch that Good Morning America is looking to fill a lot of gaps in their Deals and Steals episodes because a lot of companies they had lined up to be on their show couldn't ship items because they were shut down for COVID. Our fulfillment warehouse was open and shipping throughout this entire time. So we jumped on it. And I think 3 days later, we were the only brand featured on Good Morning America Deals and Steals when everybody is sitting at home watching TV.
Wow.
We did a full year's worth of revenue in, 8 hours.
Wow.
We blew through all of our inventory. We acquired ridiculous numbers of quality customers because it was a quality customer sitting at home watching Good Morning America just in that window. And it was a huge discovery moment for our brand that we've continued to benefit from. Wow. So that was a big positive for our brand. So sometimes you can't make this stuff up, how people find you and what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah, I know that was a huge win for you guys as well. But of course, it's not sustainable over time. What I wanted to address here as well, and probably for everyone listening to this or watching this right nowadays, what you have done over the years that contributed to the growth, besides that appearance that, of course, was worth like a lot. So you said that back then you weren't doing any paid ads. Are you currently doing paid ads? Is that one of the main ways you acquire customers online?
We do paid ads. I believe our budget is probably a lot lower than a lot of other brands, but we definitely use paid now. And it is an acquisition channel for us. I think another interesting thing that we do is we really leverage our network of female founders and a lot of these organizations to really feature other female founders, to partner together, to cross networks so that we share on giveaways or co-brand an email or feature a founder on our monthly blog so that we can start to leverage each other's networks as we have like-minded customers. That doesn't cost anything, or a little bit of friction cost, but not much. And it's good for both brands. So as a female founder, we really leaned into working with other female founders. We've leaned into the Tory Burch Fellowship, and we've leaned into the Macy's workshop as really networking with other startups to grow together. I think one other thing that we do that is key is more guerrilla marketing. So through the Tory Burch Fellowship, we had a connection to this. It's very regional, but there's a line of luxury nail salons owned by this company, Minilux. So it's been a slower way to grow, but a real amazing, more guerrilla tactic that's worked well for us. So we'll go to yoga studios. We'll go to, Minilux has been our biggest partner so far, but we partner a lot with other brands where our customer is, and it's in a way to delight them in a moment.
That's pretty cool because that's very similar to influencer marketing, isn't it? Right? Everyone is talking about, leveraging creators, affiliates, and everything like online these days, and that's super valid. And I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But probably most brands disregard or overlook the fact that they can do something very similar offline and find their customers where they are at, without leaving their experience. And that's pretty cool as well. So about that, do you do any influencer marketing, or like what you're doing is like product seeding, but in this case, not to creators, it's to, customers, potential customers. Do you do the same online with creators or affiliates?
Yes, we do work with influencers, but one challenge specific to our brand is getting people to post in their underwear.
Right.
So, even influencers who you pay, there are some who will do it, but it costs a lot more. And the pool of influencers willing to do that are a lot lower. So influencer marketing has been a bit more challenging for us. And even other brands can do this so well, and I think it's a really effective channel, is to get your customers to post about you with their handbag, with their socks. But our customer and our socioeconomic demographic is not going to go post herself in her underwear or her bra. So that's been a bit more challenging for us. I really love influencer marketing. Love it. I just found it harder for us to make that work in a bigger way because of what we're selling.
Yeah, I've never thought about it that way for these categories specifically. But yeah, you're right. Probably it's a different challenge. So, of course, besides having great product, because it's another thing that many people overlook, when they are looking to start a business, having great product probably is the foundation and the number one thing you should have before thinking about marketing or anything else. At least that's what I think, right? So, besides having a great product, what else have you do to retain customers? Once they buy, of course, they love the product, but are you proactive on trying to get them to come back for more? Do you do subscriptions? Do you reach out to them every once and like in a while to encourage them to come back? Does it happen organically? What do you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think it's really important for a brand to understand the buying cycle of their customer. So for intimates or underwear, it's usually an annual purchase.
Right.
It's not a one-off purchase. It's not every 3 months. It's like once a year, the light bulb goes on. I need new underwear, right? So how do you make sure you're there in that moment? And email marketing for us has been a really important part of that nurturing strategy. And why I think we have such a high repeat customer rate is getting the cycle right of how and when we're marketing to this customer. So if she's buying annually, after 1 year, our customer will receive an email with a discount to, hey, we haven't purchased in a year. Here's a welcome back code, and that converts like crazy. And those are all workflows in the background that are running through, just running through our marketing software. It's just like kind of set it and forget it. But those win backs on email marketing have been key, and to get the timing right on it has been even more important. The other piece to email marketing is being very diligent about keeping a clean customer email list, so that you're not black marked or your emails are actually going through for the right customer who is going to convert. So we disengage customers off of, we don't need some vanity email list. If they're disengaged, we will remove people from our email list proactively, because we really want to engage with that customer at the right moment to have them come back, not to have our emails. We can't afford to have our emails go off into cyber purgatory, basically.
Yeah. And even less these days with everything that's going on with I cannot get the term, but yeah, everything going on in the email space, with the deliverability issues. That's the thing, deliverability issues and everything else, that brands are facing with the penalties that Yahoo and Gmail are using against brands that are probably not compliant with them and probably spamming people or with hard bounces, etc. So yeah, that's smart. And what about, we've been, one thing I want to point out or to ask you actually, you you have already said that you do many stuff that probably happen offline that many other brands don't do or don't think about, right? What you pointed out, sorry, about your brick and mortar store, where you said about the guerrilla marketing and everything else. When it comes to acquisition, when it comes to retention, do you do anything that is out of the box the same you do with acquisition? Do you do something like that with retention? For example, like some brands, send out, handwritten notes. Some of them call, I'm talking about like 8 or 9 figure brands, call customers who didn't buy after the period that they found is a sweet spot for them, let's say 100 days. So they call them to see, what's going on, etc. And then, of course, they have a script to turn that into a sales call because they have structured it that way. It doesn't need to happen the same for every brand. So do you have some of those, or have you tried implementing some of those strategies to, let's say, decrease the time between purchases or try to get 1 or 2 more purchases a year on average?
I think those are great ideas. I think one wish for us is to figure out a way we could be more personal and write the handwritten note. I think that's on our roadmap for something that really in 2025, 26, we're going to focus on, to be able to have that personal touch, that delight, that for our customer to recognize we're a small team of female founders. They feel more a part of our company, a part of our team, and a part of our movement. And we remain more top of mind, and the word of mouth of their experience with our brand is more powerful than any other marketing, right? So exactly. I think that the word of mouth through our guerrilla marketing is great. People come home, you won't believe I got a free pair of underwear today, and they talk about it. It's like a safe place to talk about their underwear. But I think creating that safe moment to talk about your underwear is, oh my gosh, I got the nicest note today from Uwila Warrior. I think that's something we would really love to incorporate in the coming months.
That's great. One of the last questions I have for you is the following. Since you come from finance and tech background, I think it would be very interesting to discuss this. No pressure, but we are very close to 2025. I don't know if you have already started, planning that year, but typically for those brands listening to this, which factors do you keep in mind when forecasting a new year? How do you go about that? How do you get off the blank page?
Yeah, we're in the thick of it right now. So, starting in August, September of the year before is all about 2025 or the next year ahead. And I think that we are looking a lot at, on the wholesale side, quality partners and growing where they're growing in a healthy way. So what do I mean by that is that a lot of these drop shipment partnerships we have marketplaces as well. And the economics are better on the marketplaces and the drop shipment. So starting to test to see if we move to a marketplace, is it more same sales, better economics? Right. That's something that we're exploring. I think we're looking on the direct to consumer side is more on segmenting and using AI in ways to really meet the right customer who's interested in engaging with us for other products where it makes sense. So, if machine learning if Shopify and HubSpot and Klaviyo are coming out with tools to help you segment better and to speak to your customer, the customer who wants to be spoken to about your products and tangential products, we're really leaning in to figure out ways to leverage AI especially as a small business where we can operate like a team of 15 when we're a team of like 3 or 4 full-time people on the business. So that's another focus of ours. We're not going to create the AI, but we're going to go really fast on incorporating it, and not in a way that spans people, but a way that actually makes our communication with our customers more targeted, so that we're talking about the right things to the customer who wants to hear about that, not just blasting it out. So I think that that's another focus of ours for the coming year. And lastly, on paid, I do think that looking at some of the changes that are happening with, you think about where we're spending our paid dollars, I think search has changed a lot. Like, we definitely are going to keep up with our SEO efforts and to try to own the segments of the marketing SEO that we should own, which is like silk knit underwear. We should own that. Seamless, comfortable women's underwear. We should own that. And I think the way search is going is you don't want to be like the 10th line down on the blue line. You want to be that number one answer that's coming up on more of the AI generated search. And I think there's a lot more vehicles for search now, whether it's Chat GPT or people searching through other ways other beyond Google. And then the other piece to this is, maybe shifting more dollars to social, to Meta, because they're this walled garden where they don't want you to leave, and you get suppressed if you start having links going out to other places, which is the old way of doing this. So, okay, fine. If the strategy is to stay within the walled garden, how do we then rank and our placements reach the right customers within the walled garden? And fine, you don't have to come to our site, purchase us through social, but let's just understand how things are shifting and to shift our strategies and our dollars to match what's happening in the marketplace.
What do you mean about that wall on Meta?
Well, if you look at Meta or Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're not a big TikTok brand because our customer's a little older, but we could be in the future. But, all of these, their incentive is to have you stay on their site as long as possible. They don't want you to leave. Like, their goal is to get you to watch. If you're watching 15 hours or 5 hours a night on Instagram, they want you to go to 7 hours, 8 hours. So any ad that is taking you off of their site, Instagram, and taking you to a website, you're going to get suppressed. It's not aligned for them to work with you as a paid customer. They're going to suppress your ads. But if you work to make the buying experience within Instagram, so you never leave Instagram, better. To me, it's a little kludgy still. It could be better. But there's ways as a brand to make that process better where they never leave Instagram, but they can, the ad pops up, it's within Instagram, you stay on Instagram, you purchase it, and then you move on and continue searching Instagram for the rest of the night. That's fine.
I'm going to give you my take. I have an agency and we work with many brands since 2013, and what I can tell you about it, unless we are talking about different things, is that if it comes to ads, to convert, traffic into customers, it's perfectly fine to send people outside of Meta and Instagram. Like, only a few people, based on what I know, buy only within the platform, right? They are working on releasing, they released a few years ago the Meta, the shop, but it didn't work as much as, the TikTok shop, etc. So they do want to release that in early 2025, as far as I heard. But so far, conversion ads going over a landing page, a website, etc., work really, really well. Of course, Meta, that being said, Meta is the number one channel for most brands. And it's not me, the clients we work with, people on the pod. And there was a report by Kantar, the consultants, that they put together a report saying the same thing. Meta is the number one platform for most brands. In fact, many people, I'm not saying that I'm divesting from Google, but as you said, people are searching all over the place, and there's decentralization like going on in the world. You mentioned ChatGPT. Well, I had a few clients who met me through ChatGPT. I had no clue. And then they sent me the prompt, and I posted one of them on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, I think, or a month ago. And TikTok released search features with keywords, etc., earlier this year as well, a few months ago only, because they said like 30% of people on the platform search, right? So searching for the thing is not only a Google thing, it's probably more spread it out. Of course, Google might own the majority as we speak, but that's changing fast. So probably having a strong presence on Meta is key if you don't have that right now. Google is typically the second one in let's say revenue online, at least for most brands, and then TikTok it shines for some brands. And about what you said about being an older having products for an older demographic, we sell products for brands that probably are for let's say not teenagers, etc., and even high AOV like $1,000, and they sell pretty well on ads. So yeah, TikTok is not a channel to disregard either. We're spending 5 figures there already successfully. When on Meta we spend high 6, but on TikTok 5 figures for now. Some brands we're working with as a third channel, it's working pretty well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what your strategies are. They align with our line of thought too. I think what we're both talking about is just the shift away from where we were paying on search. You pay to do what you have to, but there's more opportunity in paid platforms like Meta and TikTok for sure.
100%. So I know we are almost on time. So I would first, of course, wanted to thank you for being here on the pod. And before you go, I wanted to ask you if there's, it's probably the gratitude question that we call this is thinking about someone who has helped you in your career. It could be a former boss, someone you admire, you follow, a mentor. So do you have anyone that comes to mind to give them a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd give a shout out to the biggest Deadhead fan out there, Brian Halligan, the chairman and CEO of HubSpot. Prior to working at HubSpot, I worked in finance, which doesn't breed the best managers. I never had a great manager, and I came to HubSpot, and not just Brian, but the team he built around him were phenomenal managers. I learned so much about being just in terms of what it takes to manage and run a team and how to do that with kindness and empathy, and learned so much about inbound marketing and how to actually incorporate technological trends into to consumer behavior. We never would have been able to launch Uwila Warrior had I not had those experiences at HubSpot, and learned so much from how to lead people and how to actually to envision a product over multiple years like he did with HubSpot.
Amazing. That's great. So again, thank you for being here in the pod, and please tell the audience where they can go to learn more about you and Uwila Warrior.
Yes, so Uwila Warrior, find us online, uwilawarrior.com. And if you are so inclined to try us on Nordstrom, you can search online there too. We prefer 100% of your margin if you buy direct from us, but come check us out.
Amazing. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was great.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.